So I told Shah, if you want to be trailblazing, if you want to be groundbreaking, if it has to be epic, you have to break the existing structures, forms, sounds, soundscapes. That to me is epic, and this started our journey of Euphoria.
This is so beautiful, Shah. I didn't expect it to be so beautiful.
But I guess you reaching the 25 minutes magic.
Hi, this is Shashwat Sachdev. You can call me Shah. So last year we started working on this album of epic music. So when we started on this journey, the idea was to break away from the conservative forms or structures. I started talking to Jack Lewis from Extreme, and we started contemplating on the kind of music that we could use. Most of my upbringing comes from folk or classical music, and he loved the cinematic or the epic music that I do. So we thought, what if we could combine the two and use the folk or the classical music with Western classical elements and sound design elements and make music that is epic sounding, and yet Magic was pushing me to break the conventional forms and structures. So most of my songwriting process begins in Mumbai, and to evoke an emotion, you would hear this sound in your head, and then the chase to that sound begins, where you would want to recreate that sound by a synthesizer or by using an instrument or by a riff on a guitar or by playing an arpeggio on a piano or a pedal point. And so that's where we started laying down the beds for these ideas that we were having together. So most of the music that we were writing for this album was meant for cinematic use, and so we wanted to see how the music could express visual ideas. And how close could the visual idea be to what I intended it for. Punjab for me has a lot of richness or prosperity in culture and a lot of honesty in emotion. So the folklores or the kind of music that Punjab has is really true to the emotion that it wants to convey, and also I personally find it really cinematic. So we started chasing this sound, meeting a lot of people, visiting a lot of heartland in Punjab. The instruments that we were recording were practically 400 year old instruments, percussion instruments, string board instruments. We recorded families that were 18th or 19th generation family in music. We were recording melodies that were 1,000 years old or 800 years old. And that for me was so humbling and inspiring. Very often you would drift towards thinking on how audience would react, and I think Magic played a very important role.
We are here in Patiala. We're going to record choir and a few folk instruments. I think it's going to be a good productive day.
Where she kept pushing me to break away from the conventional molds, to break away from the structures or forms that as a songwriter you would get stuck in, whether you are writing scores or whether you are writing progressions. And that's when you create something that is very unexpected out of you, and that for me was the most beautiful part of this journey.
So Shah has a lot of fearless musical ideas, and my job as a producer is to motivate him, to give him courage, to put them out there so that the audience can also hear what he's intending to, what he's fearlessly trying to say. And this comes naturally to him, you know. His songs are courageous. The songwriting he does, the sounds he uses, they are all very epic and grand in nature. The euphoria that he feels is actually visible in his music. You can hear it.
My father's family came to Rajasthan after partition, and so even though I come from a Punjabi family, my father was born in Jaipur, and so I grew up in this mishmash of Rajasthani and Punjabi folk culture, and so Rajasthan plays a very important part in my musical upbringing. So there's this amazing story. A friend of mine called me. I was in Mumbai, and it was right after the first wave of COVID, and he told me that an acquaintance of his in rural Rajasthan had this huge Indian percussion, Naubat, and he said that maybe you would be interested in recording something like that. So we tried convincing. He would just not agree, and it is a 200-year-old instrument. He agreed to sell it to us. So it was 800 kilometers from. We got it to Jaipur, we got it restored, and we started recording that. On our journey to bring it from there, we got in touch with a lot of musician villages in Rajasthan. Started recording these musicians, and a lot of them I already know. And I feel a certain way when I'm making my music, and I want my audience to feel like that. I hope I can take them on a journey to my euphoria and to my realities that follow my euphoria. I hope you like my album, and I'm really looking forward to you hearing it. Thank you.